So, Anderson, perhaps you can just introduce yourself briefly.
My name is Andersen Cheng. I'm the CEO of PostQuantum. We founded the company over 10 years ago to focus on quantum safe cryptography, identity, and transmission.
Perfect. And why is it important that the world thinks about those kind of issues at the moment and actually begins the migration to a quantum safe cryptographic infrastructure?
The answer is very simple because it takes forever to migrate anything. And this is not about you switching a gas provider from British Gas to someone else, and the pipe is still the same. Because in computing platforms, we use different solutions, different platforms, different systems linking up each other. And each one will need to become quantum safe. And that process takes a long time. If you look at some of the banks today, some of them are even using Windows XP. So you can imagine it does take a long time. And some people have estimated it would take probably 10 years to migrate, even after NIST has announced its final candidates for standardization next year.
Perfect. And then obviously the impact of a fully functioning quantum computer is going to be quite severe, and people are talking about it in the terms of the Y2Q moment when that occurs. Maybe you can just give us a bit of a view on how that's going to affect government, banking, utilities, those kind of highly regulated areas.
Okay, a number of players like Google have claimed quantum supremacy in the past. Okay, so I would almost bet my house on this. When Y2Q happens, almost like nothing will happen because you will be keeping quiet. That you all of a sudden have become the master of the universe. All of a sudden, you can start intercepting the communications between the White House and Downing Street, or start emptying blockchain wallets, Bitcoin wallets, or start going into your competitors' records, whether it's financial or personal or healthcare, and start blackmailing them. So why would you want to tell the world you've got this ability? You may as well just become exceedingly rich and powerful before you do anything else.
That's quite a scary prospect, which leads on to the next question, which is what practical steps can organizations take to plan for a quantum safe ecosystem?
Well, I would say we have to follow four steps because I was actually on the Y2K migration committee when I was working for a bank over 20 years ago. That project took about 3 years to do, and it cost the bank $283 million. So it was an expensive exercise. But comparing that to Y2Q, that's nothing. Because Y2Q, you have to look at every single platform, and then you have to think about where public key cryptography is used. And that's not sufficient. You still have to think about the secondary characteristics, how it's going to affect the other platforms in terms of microsecond handshaking with the others, or some other failure mode, some other configuration. So it's not a simple exercise. So I would say step one is we have to do an inventory audit. We have to go through every single platform, whether we're using PQC today and what kind of PQC that we have. Secondly, we have to think about identity because you can have the most robust infrastructure in the world. If you get identity wrong, you can forget about it because the wrong person will have come in. So you need to make sure your ID platform is also quantum safe. After that, the natural progression it would be on the transmission itself. So how do you lock on? How do you get from your ID platform onto your infrastructure? And then within that, how do you talk to the other platforms? So they all need secure transmissions. So exploring a quantum safe VPN is also a very good and viable way to start seeing how you can migrate to the quantum future. And then the fourth one is we have to look at the various workflow platforms that we use, whether it's for messaging, for collaboration, for approvals, for processing, for payments, they all need to become PQ. So if you follow these four basic steps, I think that would give you a very good framework to go quantum safe.
Perfect. And then finally, there's lots of interest at the moment in the world of cryptocurrencies, and got Bitcoin at all-time highs and lots of new users. Some in the community already believe that Bitcoin and others are quantum safe. How do you view that world?
Well, I think there is a debate going on, and a lot of people are saying hashing is quantum safe. And I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the signing of the coins using your private key, and that is not PQ. So I know some people have also been updating the Bitcoin protocol, for example, but to me that is insufficient because right now it takes 10 minutes to write a block, and you really need 2, 3 blocks to have been written before you can make sure something is immutable. Okay, so right now, I know there are groups of people who are actually working on that transition period to see how you can start altering the signature in there before it gets confirmed. So people may think it's not viable, but I will not bet my bottom dollar on it. If you do, you're very welcome for it. Now, the other thing we have to think about is even with all the other, even if you can make the Bitcoin protocol PQ, that is still not sufficient. How about the underlying infrastructure that you use? How about the wallet? How about the transmission of the instruction to the custodian or to the exchange? So all of that will need to become PQ. So unless the entire thing is looked at from a holistic angle and designed it that way, you will always have gaps. And hackers are very clever. They will always go for the low hanging fruits. And if they say there's a gap in the transmission, they will attack that rather than just your crypto protocol. So everything will need to be secured that way.
So Anderson, perhaps you can just give us a 30 to 60-second whistle-stop tour of post-quantum, who you are, what you do, the NIST competition.
Okay, the company was founded by the three of us 11 years ago. And cybersecurity is in our blood, it's in our DNA. We really love defending the world against all the threats. And we were doing quite a lot of the government grade stuff before. And when we were still a three-man band, we were very proud that we came up with this new idea, and we entered the NIST competition, which is now the only finalist in the code-based category, after we have merged with the one submitted by Daniel Bernstein, a world-renowned cryptographer. We are also very happy that our submission to IETF for their hybrid PQ VPN core is now going to be standardized as well. So we have done a lot of the mathematics, got it all done a few years ago, and in the past few years we've been focusing a lot on how to translate that into real-world platforms, system solutions in order to counter real-world problems. So if you want to know more, please contact us at info@post-quantum.com and we'll come back to you.